We're going to open with our favorite, Marjorie Taylor Greene, representative from Georgia. And Marjorie,
if you're watching, which you're probably not because you don't really lean the correct direction to be interested in us, but if you are, look into my eyes. Stop talking. Just stop.
Zip it.
All right.
All right.
Well, let's see. What did she do this time?
She's going to defend the whites. That's what she's going to do for us. Because nobody appreciates the whites.
To be given a chance to live as free Americans instead of murder. You think this is funny, Miss Batalnik? Is this funny to you? Is babies being murdered in the womb funny to you? Because you're smirking and laughing at me right now.
What's not funny are the black people.
So here's the setup.
Babies being murdered in the womb, acting like there's serial murderers running around, attacking and stabbing pregnant women against their will or something. What?
So I dropped the ball here. I should have set this up. So so there's a couple segments we're going to see here. So she's at this hearing. The hearing is on, I think it's on white supremacy, right? Or they're talking about different kinds of terroristic sort of violence, right? Of course, white supremacists, white nationalists commit the most terror in the United States. They kill the most people of any sort of group like that, right? So they are considered a terrorist group by the FBI. She's trying to say, well, it's not as bad as, say, people illegally having abortions because they're killing the babies in the womb. That's what her comparison was here. And the woman who studies white supremacy and that sort of terroristic crime is laughing while she's saying it. Probably because a lot of the other people are kind of chuckling too because it's a stupid comparison. Right? I mean...
Oh, gosh.
So...
I stand by my opinion that she just needs to stop talking.
Okay. Well, let's see the woman's response.
She's not going to stop talking, so let's hear what she's not going to stop talking about.
Well, let's hear the woman's response, and her response is pretty good.
Laughing at me right now.
What's not funny are the black people and Hispanic people and Jewish people and Muslim people who have been murdered in synagogue, in church, in supermarkets, in mosques by white supremacists.
It was a House hearing on extremism, and after Marjorie Taylor Greene got corrected and laughed at, she went into an extreme verbal tailspin.
Are you aware that all colored people are murdered? That is a fact. That every single color person has been murdered.
What is happening here? I don't even know if I can respond to it because
Lacey, you're white. You've been murdered, right? All colored people have been murdered. People of every color have been murdered, right? Every colored person's been murdered. So, by that standing, we should all have been murdered.
What point does she even think she's trying to make?
She's
obviously misspeaking, but what does she think she's even saying?
She's trying to say you are singling out white supremacy as a problem when other people get murdered too, and there are other problems. It's literally the bank robber going up to the court and them saying, well, we're going to find you guilty of bank robbery. Do you have anything to say on your behalf? And the bank robber says, well, what about that bank robber? What about that? What about Bonnie and Clyde, man? What about, It's like, geez.
That's what she thinks she's saying, but she's not doing a very good job of.
But even then, it's a stupid argument.
It's a stupid argument, even if you can understand it, but you can't even understand her stupid argument. I didn't even know what she was saying.
Right.
And I do have an advanced degree.
Yeah, so
I should be able to follow super simple English, but I couldn't even understand what she was talking about.
Yeah, she's trying to dodge the issue, but then she's defending the whites. The white supremacists are not as bad. That's the premise of the whole argument. That's why it's so ridiculous, right? So we're gonna watch some more of this because this just gets fucking nuts. So this guy, I forget what his name is, but he's gonna cover this a little bit.
It's not unusual
We've all been murdered.
See?
What?
The same thing.
Come on, Mark. Spit it out.
It's not just that people of color are murdered. White people are murdered too. Murder is not just for minorities. That may be a shock to you because you seem to dive deeply into all kinds of misinformation and seem to be uninformed yourself. And if you apparently care about human rights and you care about studying extremism, let's have a little talk about extremism, shall we? I think that's important because that's what this hearing is all about. I'd like to inform you, or maybe you don't know, maybe you do know, I doubt it. You mostly care about white supremacists and white-wing extremism. But there's quite a pattern of left-wing violent protests on college campuses today. Miss Gaines here was a victim of it. Do you support what they did to Miss Gaines? These trans terrorists chasing her into a room? Do you support that?
So here's the thing. She's comparing a white supremacist shooting up a predominantly black grocery store, or a white supremacist shooting up a gay club, or a white supremacist shooting up a synagogue, right? These things happen all the time in the United States. Hundreds of these happen a year, where white supremacists will shoot up a bunch of black people, Hispanic people, Sikhs, Muslims, whatever, right? She's saying, well, it's equal on the left because some trans people chased a woman into a room. How much violence are trans people committing for the sake of being transgender?
Well, okay, here's what I'm going to offer. This is more, my logic and deductive reason than anything. But I feel like if there was a lot of violence coming from the trans community on a large scale, there would be headlines literally everywhere about it.
Well, but she's saying
the fact that we're not hearing about a whole bunch probably means that it's not happening a whole bunch.
Well, that's the other thing.
Which means it's kind of a silly comparison.
Well, that's the other thing is how many black extremist groups are going around killing people, or have members that are going around killing people in the name of black extremism. It doesn't happen that often. It's rare, right? I'm part Japanese. How many Japanese people in America are running around saying we're superior, long live Hirohito, and shooting up a bunch of round eyes at the local farmers market?
Man. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh at that, but I feel like if I heard that, I would just be puzzled.
You'd be like, "There's no fucking way that happened."
That really happened,
But what's funny is Hirohito was World War II, Nazism was World War II, but white supremacy still exists. So you don't see a lot of Japanese military extremism, not even in Japan. But I just think it's funny because she's trying to compare these like they're apples and apples when they're apples and oranges.
Right. Well, I mean, and she's not even thinking in scale. Like, she wants to compare these things, but the scale is out of proportion. So one instance that happened in a particular community that's kind of an outlier,
right? And
you want to compare it to something that unfortunately happens with a really scary amount of regularity in another, you know?
Well, that's my point. It's like a serial killer who's killed 14 people, right? You can't sit there and go, well, that's equal to this guy who got drunk and killed somebody. Those are two very different crimes. One is intent, and one is, serious psychopathy, whatever. And the other is a person being reckless and stupid. I'm not saying that they're not both, well, the one's not murder, it's, manslaughter or whatever, negligent homicide. But at the same time, they're both killers, but there's a little bit of a difference. There's a nuance, right? There's context. Well, here's the deal, though. She forgets she's talking to the government expert on this. That's why they called this woman. And that's why the woman's laughing, because this is so stupid. And so watch the woman respond to all this, because it's just such a pointless charade for her to try and downplay white supremacy. But that's what she's trying to do.
Their movement?
I am absolutely sorry that Ms. Gaines felt threatened and unsafe while she was on a college campus, and that's not acceptable. But again, the statistics tell us that when it comes to politically motivated violence in 2022, every single murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Every single murder in America was committed by a right-wing extremist?
Every single politically motivated murder was committed by a right-wing extremist.
Are you sure about that?
I am.
Are you aware that the Tennessee shooter just recently identified as a man and she was a biological woman? Was she a right-wing extremist as well?
Young lady's time is expired. I'll allow the witness to answer the question.
So that was a shooting that happened in 2023. There is no evidence as to what ideology motivated that shooting. And what we do know is that cisgender males are responsible for the vast majority of mass shootings in this country.
I'm sorry, I don't know what a
This
cisgender male is. There's only two genders. It's male and female. That would be, so no one knows what a cisgender male is.
No one. No, you don't know what a
don't
cisgender
know.
male is.
You don't know shit.
Don't drag all the rest of us into the do know what this means.
But I love that. 2022, all the politically motivated murders that we've recorded, that we know of, right, in the United States, committed by white supremacists. And when she's saying cisgender, she means men who were born male and predominantly heterosexual. So, like, I'm a cisgendered male. I was born male. I identify as male. I'm also heterosexual. That's one thing. I mean, there are three different things. And as far as there's only two genders, I don't know. Look up the American Psychological Association. They have 7 base genders. And those don't even include all. That's just the bases they start with.
Right. Okay, so regardless, I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I do agree with you.
Oh,
But
yeah.
regardless of that part of it, even just like completely setting that part of it aside.
Yeah.
She's just spewing out ignorance because she doesn't know what cisgender means. Therefore, she's automatically trying to fight back against it when actually there's nothing to fight against.
Right.
That.
Plus
She's
the
just spewing nonsense.
Plus, the comparison was ridiculous. So the woman saying in 2022 that was the case, right? That might not be the case in 2023, but that was the case in 2022. And all the data has been...
And it's where they were grabbing their actual data, statistical
Right.
data from.
Well, we haven't compiled all the data for 2023 because it's not over yet.
Right. Data is still happening.
Right. So she's talking about in 2022 that was the case. And she's like, well, in this one mass shooting that happened in Tennessee, it was a transgender man. Okay? And the woman's like, okay, but that happened in 2023, not 2022, right? Which is what I'm here to testify about. And it wasn't politically motivated that we know of. So I'm talking about politically motivated murders. You asked me here to testify in this one thing, and now you're asking me about 50 other things. You know? It's like asking somebody, like, I want you to come over here and, try my ice cream and tell me if it's any good. And then you start throwing fucking dishes in their face, going, here, try the pasta, try the steak. And they're like, yeah, I'm here for the freaking ice cream, dude. I didn't come here I don't know anything about the steak.